everyone. My name is Diego Alfonso, and I'm your host with the Florida Aviation Network. We are broadcasting free and in the clear from the Aerospace Discovery in the Florida Air Museum at the Sun and Fun Complex in Lakeland, Florida, during the 43rd Annual Sun and Fun Fly-In and Exposition. Today, our guest is Mark Adams. He represents a company that once I say the name, you're probably going to know who are we talking about. It's Avemco Insurance Company. Mike, welcome to the show.
Oh, well, it's good to be here again.
This is probably going to be the easiest show for me because two things, actually three things maybe. I know you already. I mean, we've been together before. Mm-hmm. Secondly, I'm kind of partial to Avemco because I used them in the past. So there are some commonalities in there. Mm-hmm. And I know the show today is going to be extremely interesting because you're going to touch on a hot topic.
Yes.
Which is right now what's happening now. Mm-hmm. And it's about basic med.
Correct.
So why don't we do this? Why don't you just go ahead and tell the folks what you want to let them know about Avemco's role during this new period in medicals that we're kind of getting ourselves into. And then along the way, I may be asking you some questions that I personally have. Because you see when your hair start getting like this?
Yeah, I've got it.
There you go. Okay. There you go. So you have the floor.
All right, well, thank you very much. And I appreciate the time. And what I want to talk about this morning is the new Basic Med program that becomes effective May 1. The topics that I'm going to hit on here have to do with the questions we've been receiving from our customers and also non-customers. Now, I've been working some shows. I was out in Puyallup, Washington at the Northwest Aviation Conference, and I heard questions from pilots saying, well, my company's going to require a third-class medical still. What are you guys going to do about it? I haven't heard anything from my insurance company. So at Avemco, we've gone ahead and we've published an email newsletter to our customers, and I'm just going to outline the procedure here. The short of it is, we're going to accept the Basic Med effective May 1, just like you had a third-class medical. Okay. When we got into the Sport Pilot program and we had the driver's license for sport pilots, we didn't have any problems with pilots and medicals. I can touch on pilot skills and loss of control on landing a little bit later, because that's really one of the real main causes of claims with our insurance company, and actually most companies, but it's not the medical issue. So right now, if you're insured with Avemco, be it on a non-owned policy, be it on an owned aircraft policy, or you're in a flying club, if you've got a Basic Med at May 1, that's good enough for us if you're flying a plane that requires Basic Med. Now, we do have some customers that, because of the combination of pilot, airplane, liability limits, value, that we've had a requirement that the pilot carry a third-class medical every 12 months. Right. And I want to explain that a little bit. If you're going to go to the Basic Med program, what we're requiring now is, instead of a third-class medical every 12 months, you just go to your regular physician, which you're probably doing on an annual basis anyway, as part of your health awareness program, and you keep a Basic Med every 12 months. Now, the comments we've received from the newsletter we sent out were, hey, this is terrific news, to why are you guys forcing more than the FAA? And the flippant answer is, when the FAA starts to put $1 million on the line in liability, plus the value of your airplane, plus the defense costs, which we pay over and above the policy limits, then they may put some other requirements in there. Now, when you buy a policy from Avemco, you and I have got a contract. And I agree to defend your assets within the policy confines and conditions of that policy. And over time, because we handle an awful lot of claims, we've learned that as pilot-airplane combinations get to a certain point, being able to say, we've got a pilot now that's within 12 months of a physical, so they're in good physical health, we can get the settlement within the policy limits and without having to go to trial most of the time. So it's really a defense mechanism for us, and if it's something you're already doing, all you need to do is a little bit more paperwork and you've got it set. If you're flying something like a basic 172, 182, Piper Arrow, and you've got the standard industry liability limits of $1 million each occurrence, $100,000 each person and passenger. Most likely you're not going to have any additional requirement than the basic med.
Right.
Now, if I can have the floor for a minute, I often get asked a question, well, Mike, do you know how old the oldest pilot is that you insure? And the answer is yes. I think the fellow is still alive and he's 100 years old. I know that he's 100 years old because reading a aviation newspaper, he was written up as flying his SLSA on his 100th birthday. So of course, once I had his name, I had to look him up, found him in the database, was concerned for about 2 seconds, and then continued reading the article. And what the pilot said is, yes, he flies as often as possible, and he always flies with another pilot or a CFI, because one, he loves to share aviation,
Yes.
and he said, I'm 100 years old. So yes, we do
read
have
the article,
older
by the way.
Yes, we do have an older pilot, and we don't have any requirement on him other than because he's a sport pilot, he has a valid driver's license, and the airplane's within the annual inspection, and he has a flight review every 2 years.
So it's still, all he has to do is get a year physical.
Actually, with him, because of the type of airplane, he doesn't even have to get an annual physical. He's flying as a sport pilot. So
see.
his driver's license, in this case, because it's an SLSA, does qualify on it. So if he were flying a 172 or 182 or something,
Right.
then he would fly just under the basic med, which is every 2 years the knowledge course, and every 4 years a visit with his physician and the basic med form.
Perfect. Now, you said that you were also going to touch on loss of control and that type of thing. So I am really interested in what you have to say, because that's one of my, I'll tell you, that's one of my main interests right now is loss of control on landings specifically.
All right.
So if you can address that issue, I really would like for you to do that.
Sure. One of the things that we've done with Avemco is we've gone back and, because I have a presentation that I make at shows, it's Wings Accepted for Credit, and we talk about what we've learned from mining our claims history. We've gone back 10 years, looked at the top causes of loss and things, and what we've found is, well, one, no surprise to anyone that landing accidents are the most common claim that we have out there. One of the things that we looked at on there, because we've been promoting an annual flight training to help decrease the accident rate. Now, when the FAA instituted the WINGS program, or the biannual flight review in this case, we in the insurance industry, at least Avemco, we saw a decrease in the accident rate. And then it leveled off. So we said, well, what do we have to do to get another decrease in the accident rate now that we've, I guess, milked everything we can out of the 2-year flight review? So we started to promote the annual flight review. We give a 5% premium credit for that. But what we found in looking at our data was the length of time between the person last flew with a flight instructor and they had a landing accident. Now granted, this is just those that have had claims, was 373 days. So any of you that have gone a year without flying with an instructor to make sure you're current, you have to ask yourself, am I lucky or am I really that good? Because our statistics say that if it's been a year, your potential of a landing accident goes way up.
Right, right. Now, talking about that, I have here in my notes, will the fact that I'm using the basic med will increase my premium?
No, not under Avemco. We're not having any kind of a premium change with the basic med. What we're going to do, and it's like we've been doing since 1961, is we're going to look at our loss history and readjust anything we need to depending upon actual losses. So we don't have an automatic trigger. Now, if we do see an increase of losses that are medically related, we may have some kind of a base rate change, but from our history, we haven't seen that in the past. I don't expect to see that in the future. Unfortunately, we'll continue to see the same numbers probably with the landing accident. So again, we're promoting that training, we're giving the credit so that the pilots do train on an annual basis. And particularly if you've got those spring crosswinds that come up every year and you've had kind of a summer or a winter where you haven't flown much, get with an instructor, go out and actually land in some crosswinds, make sure you're current, so that when you get up there and you're trying to do that mental, okay, now if I slip, is it rudder, stick, control, what's my power? that one, it's automatic. You're not having to rethink everything as you drift off the center line and hit that runway light.
Exactly.
Mhm.
I did a video. I produced a video, which is in my website, and it's free for everybody. And it's called LOD Call, which is Loss of Directional Control on Landing.
All right.
It's a new acronym.
Okay.
Like we need another one.
Well, yes, yeah. Can't have too many of those. Yeah.
And that's one of my pep here in that video. I recommend pilots that says, you got to do what I call the PPP system, and what that means is the Personal Proficiency Program.
All right.
Every time you're going to take off, don't just take off. Do a short field one day. Do a soft field the next day.
Yeah.
Even if you have a 10,000-foot runway. You're going to land, one day do the short field landing. Don't wait to go to that short field and try to practice then on the real thing.
Right.
So every time you fly, you have a chance to keep yourself proficient if you're in that frame of mind.
Yeah.
So that goes along my thinking as a CFI for many years.
Yes.
Now, so overall, we can say that basically the insurance will have very little changes if I decide to use the basic med.
Right. Actually, with Avemco, no changes.
No changes. Just continue the same thing. Well, have you done any flying, lady?
Unfortunately, I haven't. We've been gearing up for the season with the presentations. I do some wings presentations again at some of these seminars and things.
Right.
I'll be presenting again at Oshkosh. I hope I've applied for that. So no, unfortunately, I'm one of those guys that before I go out and fly, I've got to follow my own advice, and that's to get with an instructor, make sure I'm up to speed on everything before I go out and solo on it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The process of forgetting begins on the return trip from the airport after the check ride.
It certainly does. It
So
does. Yep.
that applies to every flight.
Yes.
The minute you step off of that airplane, the process of forgetting begins. If you let to go too much time, when you come back, you're a novice again. You know, and as long as we realize those things, we can stay out of trouble and we keep you guys not too busy.
Right. Well, we don't want, we want to write a lot of policies. We want to be there to defend you if you have a loss, but all of us are working to decrease the accident rate because one, it's good for the public image of general aviation.
Yes.
It'll get more pilots into it. More pilots into any operation will spread the load. It should bring down some prices, keep everything affordable, and also protect our freedoms to fly.
Exactly. And you also recommend highly, I remember, I think we talked about this, I may be not quite correct on this, but you guys recommend pilots to attend the fast team safety meetings.
Yes, your memory is excellent, actually.
Okay.
We have a credit for premium if you do an annual Fast Teams knowledge course. And then we have another credit that we apply for annual flight training with the policy, with our policy and underwriting. Because again, what we've found is the individual that takes the time to do a Fast Wings course, be it one of the ones here at Sun and Fun, be it an online course, they've stepped up a little bit, and that's one of the differences of someone that takes their flying casually or takes it professionally. And we've found that if you try and operate like a professional, you're less likely to have an accident. We all joke about that. Any landing you can walk away from is a good one. Yeah, it's a nice joke, but don't live your life that way. You want to be spot on each and every time. You want control all the way down. You want to make the decision if the environment isn't such that you or the airplane can handle it. You want to have a alternate that you can divert to and still have your fuel reserves to get there and land safely. The inconvenience of having to call a friend or a spouse to say, well, I'm over at this airport, I need a ride home, versus I'm calling my Avemco insurance adjuster to report a claim and now I'm out of an airplane for 6 months. Take the ride home with the spouse or a friend from an alternate airport.
Right, that's great. And I like that definition of a good landing, but do you know the definition of a perfect landing?
No.
The one you can use the airplane again.
Okay, that is true. Yep. Yeah.
No.
You want all the pieces to be there. Yeah.
Joke,
yeah.
And I'm serious about this. Landings are a serious thing, and I know Avemco, any CFI at the FAA, are strongly behind people making sure that they keep the proficiency up so all those landings are flawless. Okay, so disregard what I said.
Yes.
Mike, it's a pleasure to have you here. As every year although I miss you last year, I was saying before, and unfortunately we have come to the end, and really appreciate you being here.
Well, I appreciate the
before
time.
You go, why don't you tell the folks where you're located here at the airport?
We're in Hangar C, spot number 56. We've got Elizabeth Hoover, one of our underwriters, and Stephanie Baylor, an underwriter here. I'll be here through Thursday night myself, and we got Marcy Veroni. She's actually here on the grounds, but just couldn't make the interview today, in the booth also. So if you're a pilot and you fly with a headset, we have an Avemco cap. We appreciate the advertising all of you wearers will give us, and there's no button on the top, so you can wear it with a headset and not get that headache. On there.
I know. I had that many times. Okay, folks, this is it for now. My name is Diego Alfonso, and I'm signing off with the Florida Aviation Network.
It's been said that beauty is in the